And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Debates. And I cannot believe what we just witnessed, man. It was insane, crazy day in the NBA world. Two game sevens. The most recent one that just went down, Timberwolves Nuggets. I have no words, man. No words at all. No words at all, man.
No, it was a good day. Yesterday I was at the gym with Andrew. I don't know if Andrew's been on a podcast. I was gonna say former guest Andrew, but I don't know if he's been on a podcast. But
No,
yesterday
he
we
ain't
were
been on there
talking.
for a minute.
Yeah, yesterday we were talking and we were like making our predictions, and we were both like, "Yeah, I think both home teams are gonna win." And the complete opposite happened today. Both road teams got the win and are advancing to the conference finals.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, Matt, with your Knicks, yeah, still repping the shirt. I see you, man. Hell of a fight, hell of a fight. I'm not gonna lie about that. Great season from New York. Surprisingly, Indiana, although the Knicks obviously they were the more tired team, the more banged up team, of course, they got a game on the road, which they struggled with it mightily throughout that series. I mean, before the game seven today, no road team won on the road as well. It was all the home teams winning. So for them to pull it
Yeah,
off was insane. But
yeah,
we will get to that game at a later time. We gotta kick it off with Nuggets-Timberwolves, and what a great capper to end this great series, man. Game seven at Ball Arena, Timberwolves win 98-90 in the Wolves' first game seven since 2004 when they beat the Kings in Minnesota 4-3, along with KG, their all-time great. His birthday was today, so salute to him. So, hey, as a tribute, they pulled it off. So, salute to them boys, man.
yeah. I want to start with this game, not talking about their young piece and their young star in Anthony Edwards, not talking about who showed up big in the fourth quarter for them and Nas Reed. But I want to give a round of applause to Carl Anthony Towns, because this comeback doesn't happen without his performance today.
No, not
He,
at all. Salute, salute.
yeah, throughout the series, I actually think he was the best matchup against Jokic that the Wolves had, and it kind of showed today. And it's just weird seeing Carl Anthony Towns being this guy who we've notoriously associated with being a no-show during this time of the year and being a no-show in the playoffs. And for him to be showing up on both sides of the court, which he usually doesn't even do in the regular season, but is putting the backpack on in a game seven is fantastic to see.
Yeah, and I want to talk about him not showing up consistently on both ends, like you just said, Matt. This year has been completely different in my
Hmm.
eyes.
Yeah.
Just the transformation with the Timberwolves, like overnight, pretty much becoming an elite defense, one of the best defense we've ever seen in this league in recent memory.
Hmm.
Part of that credit should go to Cat for him being locked in on that side of the ball. And with what we saw tonight and with this series, guarding Jokic while Gobert roams around the paint, having their defensive scheme being set up that way was incredible.
Well, but it's also like a lot of people had a lot of questions when the Gobert trade occurred because, like, oh, is Cat going to be able to have the foot speed and the lateral quickness to keep up with the modern NBA fours? And he's done that and more on that side of the ball. Plus, he's bringing you good rebounding because he does have that size. So it really
Mhm.
was like they did take that gamble. They did take that risk when they brought in Rudy Gobert. And Cat has looked like he's held up to his.
Oh, you kind of cut off a little bit.
I was about to
Can
say you were freezing on my end.
okay,
But I was
okay.
saying,
So
I,
okay, yeah. Continue, man.
this is the technical difficulties we all got to deal with in person.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And we had to do this immediately. We had to do this immediately. So
No, for sure, for
unfortunately we
sure. We
couldn't
wanted to
do it in
get it out to
person.
the fans, but
Mhm.
just for him to be able to play the four and like whether it's switching to the four, whether it was him being compatible with Naz Reid at the three, Rudy at the five, because they even ran the big three man lineup in this game. Just like his versatility has really been on display this past season.
Absolutely. And we can't give him any more praise like we just did. And salute to this entire Minnesota team, man. taking down the defending champs, being down 20 at one point in the game, being down 15 after the half, and to come back like that, like they did, and beat them again on their home court in one of the most toughest arenas in the entire league, with the altitude, with the loud crowd getting active throughout the game. For them to pull that off, to pull off that major comeback after an offseason where we had so many questions with this team, can Cat and Gobert play together? Is in ready to take that next step? Is bench players like Nikhil Alexander-Walker, are they legit rotational guys in this league? And for them, even with Chris Finch, is he a legit head coach? Is he a winning head coach in this league? For them to answer all of these questions we had, especially between me and you, Matt, to
Mhm.
answer these questions and to come out resounding like they've been, to go to their first conference finals since the glory days of Kevin Garnett, it's incredible.
No doubt. No doubt. They definitely showed why they're like one of the favorites. If not, I think they're the favorite to win the league, to win the championship. And well, we might get into that, but
No, no, hey, I don't blame you at all. I do not blame you at all.
I remember like throughout the regular season, obviously we live in Denver and we have a handful of Nuggets fans like within our friend group, and they constantly were telling us like Minnesota's our biggest competition. And they saw
Absolutely.
that vision. They obviously saw last season, even though Nuggets won in five, all the games were extremely close. They saw the Timberwolves were finally getting healthy, finally getting some continuity and chemistry together, and the system was really starting to be implemented.
Yeah,
And you're really seeing the effects of that right now, and that's why they're in the conference finals.
yeah. And even then, last year when they obviously they both met up in the first round, even though it went 5 games
All
early
the
in
games are
the
close.
series, yeah, they were all close. It was still competitive. Even with Minnesota, they were missing Jalen McDaniels. They were missing Nas Reed. They had the whole fiasco at the end of the year, if you remember, Matt,
Mhm.
where Rudy Gobert he punched Kyle Anderson on the sideline in the last game of the regular season versus the Pelicans, and everybody was going crazy. The chemistry was off, and they still gave the Nuggets a big fight. And I do remember in the offseason when Bruce Brown, former Nugget, obviously, he
Mhm.
went on. I forgot the podcast name. I forgot the
Oh,
name.
Theo Pinson's. I can't remember the name of it, but Theo Pinson's podcast.
Yeah, we posted that reel on our platforms too, and
Yeah,
he said that the Timberwolves gave the Nuggets their biggest fight throughout the entire postseason. Not the
yeah,
Suns, not the Lakers, not Miami in the finals. The Timberwolves, with all of their miscues and drama going on within that team.
yeah. Wait, was it Rudy punching Kyle Anderson, or was it Kyle Anderson punching Rudy? I
No,
can't remember.
I vividly remember Rudy punching Kyle Anderson.
Fair. Um,
But
but
salute to Rudy though. Salute to Rudy though. He had a great game as well too. That midi, we gotta talk about that
Midi
midi.
was
Oh my
insane.
god,
Midi was
that
insane.
midi was crazy. Oh my god, that
Midi
midi
was
was
insane. I
crazy.
can't believe he hit it.
Blown away. No, that it was insane. It was like that one shot. Christmas Day, it was between my Celtics and the 76ers in 2018. I vividly remember Ben Simmons hitting like a fadeaway shot in the post, and it went in. I think it
Oh, I
was a
know
bench
which one you're
shot.
talking about.
I
Yeah,
remember in real time, I was like, bro, what the hell just happened? No way he did that. And for Rudy to step up like that when it mattered the most in a game that they let him do whatever he wanted offensively down the post, even had smaller guards like Jamal Murray guarding him in the post to majority of it being successful with Rudy Gobert's lack of touch around the rim. But for him to hit such a clutch shot like that, that was just wild. That was really wild. I wanted to bring that up. That was crazy watching that in real time.
no, no. When he hit that shot, I was like, okay, this actually might be the end for Denver if they're getting the shots like that. But what I do want to bring up was a point that you mentioned maybe like a couple minutes ago, which was the altitude, because last year when the Nuggets were beating Phoenix and they were beating the Lakers, the media ran away with this agenda. Oh my God, the altitude is such a big thing when we had never heard of it before when the Warriors were winning
No,
here or anything
no,
like that. And
no.
so for the Timberwolves to come in here, basically win 3 games on the road, 3 of their 4 games on the road, it just completely shows like that the altitude agenda was complete garbage.
And it just shows how young Minnesota is and how athletic they are. Guys like Alexander Walker, guys like Naz Reid, and man, obviously, Cat. He's athletic for his size. Jaden McDaniels, especially one of the more athletic wings in this entire league. Even the older players like a Mike Conley, he's one of the most well-conditioned players overall in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like you said, like they do have that part of experience with guys like Mike Conley and Rudy Gobert and even Cat to a certain extent. And then they also do got the younger guys like an Anthony Edwards, Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels. So it was like kind of like give some and get some on both sides where you had some games where the young guys were stepping up. You had some games where the older guys needed to step up. We obviously saw the veteranship that Mike Conley brought and how missed he was when he was not there for game 5. And
Absolutely.
and it just looks like the Tim Connolly has done a masterclass again with roster construction.
He has. He has. Salute to Connolly, the Wolves GM, for building this masterpiece of a roster. Hey, when the Gobert trade would happen in real time, I remember me, you, everyone else in our friend group, we were like, why would you make this move? Why would you trade all these firsts for a big and Gobert? Where to me, I think he's impactful, but to the rest of you guys, it's not really impactful, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And
Mhm.
that whole dynamic, having him between Cat and him, as well as your starting two bigs, that whole dynamic, it can never really fit in the modern NBA. But for
Mhm.
them to gel in with the rest of this roster, again, guys like Alexander Walker stepping up off the bench, Naz Reid, he won 6 Man of the Year. Him being another extra two-way big that can easily plug and play whenever Towns gets in foul trouble, which obviously he does a lot, and
Yeah.
that was the case, especially in this game too. He almost fouled out as well with 5 fouls. Just the overall cohesion is fantastic with this unit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's still a loss. They have to win the championship for me not to think the trade was a loss, just with how much they've given up. But with the progression that we've seen from the team and just the position that they're in, like I don't think this is their first conference finals. It's obviously not, but they look like they're poised for their first finals appearance.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
and
Mhm.
and I think that whether they win the ring or not, just being in that organization where like it's been hard to win and it's been hard to get to these places. Like I think people in the organization would do that trade again just because they've never reached this kind of territory.
Yeah, absolutely. But continuing with the Timberwolves, I want to go into deeper on Anthony Edwards, his performance in that game 7. They didn't have the greatest of games. Went 6 of 24, was bad offensively in the first half, stepped it up too as well. I wanted to hear your thoughts, Matt, on his performance in this game 7.
It's I mean, I said it in the group chat. Like I don't think game 7 should necessarily define a player. I think it definitely has an impact on players. But
Mm-hmm.
I think for Anthony Edwards, like we mentioned when we were doing, or at least like I kind of brought up when we were doing our top 5 players in the playoffs. The reason I had him number 1 was because yeah, he was dropping 40 pieces in that first round, but he was also being phenomenal on defense. And we saw when Jaden McDaniels got in trouble, he took the Jamal assignment, and that was in part what led to Jamal having a really quiet second half, in my opinion. Was Anthony Edwards taking him on as the primary assignment? And so I think that Anthony Edwards, like you mentioned, although he wasn't able to score the ball the way that we know he can, I just think that he was able to impact the game in a multitude of different ways.
Yeah, and I also thought his playmaking, especially in the second half, was very huge. That's why they were able to make that comeback in the second half. Just Anthony, when he sees a double and when he gets that acceleration towards the paint, obviously there was going to be a wall that entire time throughout the game.
Mhm.
Having guys like Aaron Gordon can, contain that whole entire paint, and BJ as well. So for him to have the IQ to know when to kick the ball out to shooters like Alexander Walker, Naz Reid, McDaniels in the corner, and for them to get easy open looks as well was very huge in the Wolves winning this game.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. His playmaking was definitely on display today.
Mm. Yeah, I
Playmaking was
mean, he did have a little bit of miscues. I remember He tried to go cross court when he was getting doubled. He saw somebody open in the corner. I forgot his name, but he tried to do a cross court pass. KCP picked it off,
Oh yeah.
and the
I saw.
team went on transition. That was a big mistake I saw from him. Although Edwards has improved with his ability to see the double team and know when to pass out, make that cross court pass over the year as well compared to earlier in his career. But just a little bit note I had from this game, a little bit of a takeaway.
But I also think part of that playmaking came in the third quarter when they took Rudy out because it was something that the TNT was saying or inside the NBA was saying where like Gobert was not having the best offensive game as you mentioned where they were putting guards against him in the post and when Anthony Edwards was getting doubled it kind of limited the options that he had to play make out of that double. Whereas when they took Rudy out, they put Cat at the 5 and then they kind of ran small where they had I think it was Kyle Anderson, Alexander Walker, Conley, and Edwards with Cat. Like there was a lot more floor spacing, there were a lot more options, and it kind of opened the floor for Anthony Edwards to create.
Absolutely, for sure, absolutely.
But do we want to get into our predictions for the Western Conference or for the Western Conference Finals then?
Nah, we gotta talk about the other team, the team that lost.
Oh
The
yeah.
Nuggets,
Sure.
man. Matt, I'm gonna let you start.
I mean, for the Nuggets, it's like what else could you have asked for? Especially coming off of that Lakers series where you started every first half slow. You finally come out to that start that you want. You get off to the fast jump. You have a 20-point lead during the second quarter. You finish the half 15 points ahead of the Timberwolves. You had it in your hands. You had everything you wanted. You played the perfect first half and you let it slip. And there's a handful of players who showed up in the second half. There's a handful of players who didn't. But I don't think anybody was at their best game in the second half for the Denver Nuggets.
No, not at all. And that was largely due to the Timberwolves focusing on the two main offensive guys in Jokic and Jamal. And that's what we saw in game 6 with the Timberwolves trying to blitz Jamal Murray. And when Jokic has that catch in the post, doubling him, and when, obviously the Nuggets, they're swinging the ball around the perimeter, they're having the rotations. And with the Timberwolves, they're such a crisp team when it comes to rotating as well. They're one of the best, if not the best, at
Mhm.
set rotations. And just for the rest of the Nuggets role players like a KCP, like an Aaron Gordon, especially for an MPJ, they weren't able to make their open shots. They were
Yeah.
brick all game.
Well, I don't think Jokic. I think that was actually part of the reason why Timberwolves were able to succeed in that second half was that they weren't doubling Jokic. They were just letting Cat defend him one on one, and Cat was holding his own, especially in that third quarter. I
Mhm.
think they definitely were doubling Jamal, and that was where they were seeing a lot of success. But like you said, MPJ really didn't have a series. He didn't have a game where he looked like MPJ. He was struggling from three, and even the defense wasn't typical of MPJ, even if we're not even considering him a better defender. I thought AG kind of had a relatively quiet game. You know, obviously, he's kind of been an X factor for them. Where in game 3 he was the catalyst for that win. Game 2 he kind of, even though they got blown out, he was probably one of their better players, and he's was a huge piece towards sparking their comeback in this series. And he was a relative non-show, at least on the offensive end in this game. I felt like.
Yeah, for sure. And with the Nuggets, obviously they're the reigning champs, and we know that for the majority of people, especially with the media and with us as fans, we had them going back to back this year. But the biggest issue I had with this team, especially with the departure of Bruce Brown, was the lack of ball handling with this unit and with this series, especially when it was just mainly Jokic and Murray trying to create a shot and consistently dribbling against this tough Wolves defense, the other role players as well. Offensively, they struggled.
Yeah. Yeah, and you definitely saw that because for the majority of that 21-3 run, which it sounds crazy to say, but that 21-3 run during the third quarter, it was when Jamal was on the bench and when Reggie Jackson was in the lineup. And it was like that was when Jokic couldn't hit a shot. That was when Jokic was settling for threes. He started the game 0 of 7 from 3. and he was
And,
settling
and,
things
and
up.
they and they were forcing Jokic to take the three. They
Yeah.
had when Towns was on Jokic, he had a gap between him and the 3-point line. They were allowing those threes because Jokic, although he is an efficient 3-point shooter when he needs to be, he doesn't
Mhm.
want to take those shots. He wants to
Well,
go for more efficient shots, and he wants to have his players be more established offensively.
I mean, I also think it's just like the best of the bad bunch. Like because when we think of the Nuggets offense, we're typically thinking of like good, high-powered offense, good-looking shots, open shots, because you do have the best playmaker in the league in Nikola Jokic, or second best if we want to put Luka there. But when you're defending him, it's like, yeah, like Jokic taking a three is not a bad option for the defense. Like you live with that. If he hits it, you live with it as a defense, as opposed to doubling him and having KCP open in the corner.
Absolutely. Yeah, and kudos to Minnesota. The game plan worked, along with having guys like Aaron Gordon. Although he was effective shooting the three ball in the series as a whole, but the bench players like a Payne Watson when he got minutes, Christian Brown when he got minutes off the bench, he had around 20 in this game 7 tonight as well, allowing them to hit threes where they weren't able to make them. And kudos to
Yeah.
them, they followed the game plan and it worked.
And for Christian Brown, like I remember there were times during this game where like he would have open looks and just wouldn't take it.
Yeah,
And
he
like
refused to.
and like he has to. Like even if you're gonna miss it, you just have to keep the defense honest, because at some point like they're gonna rotate to you and then that's gonna leave an open shooter. But if you don't take that shot, then nobody's ever gonna run to you or commit to you, and you're never gonna be able to break down the defense. And there were
Oh,
two separate possessions where he did that.
no, not at all. And that's unfortunate because really off this Nuggets bench the whole postseason, Brown was their only semi-playable guy off the bench that they could rely on.
Justin Holiday was good. Justin Holiday was good this series, not Lakers series, but he was. I thought he was their best bench player this series.
Mm.
I
No,
thought
but
so.
but at the same time, they weren't giving him really heavy minutes like that, especially during crunch time.
Well,
Like
not during
the
crunch
guy
time.
that the guy that they relied on the most was Brown off that bench, and we already know about Reggie Jackson too. He was unplayable as well. He only had like what 5 minutes this
Yeah,
entire game 7, and in those 5 minutes he had no production at all.
no, he was not good in the 5 minutes. He
Mhm.
was not good in the 5 minutes. But yeah, Nuggets. I don't know what they want to do, because the smart thing would have just been to go into the luxury tax last year. Now you have an off season. Now, as you mentioned, you definitely like that bench piece is definitely striking as missing, and you definitely want to fill that gap while you do have the best player in the world on your team.
Mhm.
So, like, what are your options if you're not willing to go into the luxury?
Exactly, and for KCP this free agency period, he
Oh yeah,
has a clear option of 15 mil. Who knows if he's going to opt into that? Maybe he might test out his value at during this offseason and see if he can get another bag as well.
he's testing it. He's testing it.
Yeah,
I think he could get that same money just longer term. So why would he not do it?
yeah, for sure. Just it's kind of like a Bruce Brown situation, or
Yeah,
even to a bigger extent.
yeah.
Maybe Bruce Brown is going to come back next year too. Maybe they get him as well. But we'll see down the road. I
But
don't
how
know.
Bruce Brown's making too much for them? He's making what? Because he got a bag from the Pacers.
That's true. It's 22 million. I would
Yeah,
know 22.
that's like too much. There's got to be a better like
Um,
a bench player that they could trade for that isn't going to be as contractually heavy as Bruce Brown.
but what names like are on that list for you if you can bring them up, Matt?
I mean, I mean, I guess this guy's making pretty heavy money too, or expensive money too. But like Bogdan
Oh,
Bogdanovic from the Hawks, if you want that like ball handler, offensive piece off the bench.
I no, I thought you said Bojan Bogdanovic from
No,
the
no,
Knicks.
Bogdan.
My fault. I messed those two up. That could be an interesting piece. I heard Danny. He mentioned. I think he was talking about the Nuggets for this Jordan Clarkson. I don't think that'd be good at all.
Nah, I don't like that fit. I don't like
No.
that fit. I'm trying to think who else. Uh, Brooklyn, they don't have any free agents really, or nobody's on the block. Um,
Lonnie Walker be an enticing free agency piece. I think he's on. His deal expires.
the Lonnie Walker didn't get a lot of PT this year, huh?
No, unfortunately.
I'm trying to think who else. There's not a lot of names on the market is the problem.
What
Who's the Pacers sixth man? Or not Pacers, who's the Pelicans sixth man?
the Pelican six man?
Yeah.
That's Trey Murphy.
Oh yeah, well he's not available.
No, not at all.
Or he shouldn't be. I mean, they're not gonna get somebody like Keldon Johnson. I don't even want that for them.
No, that's a horrible fit.
Yeah.
Even if the salaries could possibly match, that's a horrible fit in general. So they're not doing that.
Um, I mean, I don't think that this is like a great name, but I think that Aaron Holiday would be an upgrade over what they have if they want to get him from the Rockets.
Aaron Holiday
Yeah.
as that Reggie replacement, as the backup point guard, or
Yeah, because he
or
provides solid defense and can at least knock down the three.
yeah, and he's not gonna hijack the offense. He's gonna know what his role is off the bench.
Hmm.
Unlike Reggie, unfortunately,
Unless,
Reggie. I mean,
yeah,
Reggie Jackson had a good career, got a lot of money, got his chip, but he cannot be on this Nuggets team moving forward, especially as an important piece.
yeah. Unless they want to try out Monte Morris again, because I think Monte's a free agent after this offseason or after this season, right?
Yeah, Monte, since he's been out of Denver, my opinion on him has changed drastically. Even
Yeah.
though maybe if you were able to go back to a familiar home, having to play alongside Jokic, taking that pressure off him, he knows his role on that
Hmm.
team. That could change. That could
Hmm.
change.
No, I'd agree. He hasn't been good since he left, but he was a good backup for them.
Uh-huh.
Unless, like, I mean, Pat Bev, maybe. I don't
No,
think Pat
not
Bev.
Pat
Pat
Bev.
Bev doesn't seem like he would perform again.
I don't even think, bro. Is Pat Bev even going to be on the team next year with the
Oh
suspension?
no, don't do that. That's disrespectful. Don't
I
do
know,
that.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, what we talking about politics?
No. What politics? I don't. There's not enough politics there for me to like be like that's bad.
I mean, he threw a ball in the crowd twice, right? And the whole fiasco post game when he was like, saying, "Oh, you can't interview me unless you've watched my podcast, listen to my podcast." And obviously, he's gonna be a lot older. I think he's gonna be what 35, 36 come next season around that time. So for a team, especially with a contender, do you really want that much baggage if we're talking about that in a hypothetical context?
Definitely considering the fact that he gave you 13 and 12 in a playoff game off the bench, and brought good defense throughout the series against the Pacers. Like even if it's a vet minimum, I think like a ton of teams would take Pat Bev because he is a good culture guy. Like for your
That's
team, he is a good culture guy. I definitely think he has a place in this league, and I
yeah,
think we've seen like
mm,
I think we've seen like a ton of politics stuff. Whether it was like Marcus Morris against the Mavericks, where he was like intentionally like trying to hurt Luca, damn near it felt like, or or even like situations with Karl Malone and Josh Giddey. Like there's politics, and then like throwing a ball at a fan does not even compare to that. Like, let's be real. Telling somebody to go listen to your podcast does not compare to that.
and Miles Bridges too.
Yeah, Miles Bridges too.
Those
That's a good one.
situations.
Even
So,
Zion with this offseason, with this past offseason.
mm. And to like defer from that, you had I forgot his name. Oh, James Booknight from the Hornets. He had DUI the past offseason, I believe. It was this one or a year ago, and then later on when he wasn't performing as well, they were like, "Hey man, we can't have this much baggage on here, and you're not producing," so they cut him.
What about Ty Lawson? Did Ty Lawson get his DUI? He got his DUI after. Like he was basically done in the league when he got his
But
DUI.
he had so many DUIs, bro. I can't count. It's like every single month. I just heard on the news. Oh, Ty Lawson got DUI again. It's like,
Yeah.
bro. Hey, I love Ty Lawson though, man. But he had to stay off that bottle for sure.
No,
Hope
but
he's doing better though.
Pat Bev got a spot in this league. He actually might be back with the Bucks because he and Doc Rivers have a thing for each other for sure. Ever since their Clipper days.
So yeah, so obviously there's a connection there.
Yeah.
But okay.
But yeah, I actually think Pat Bev's like the better, like one of the better backup PGs in the league. Like he's one of the top 15 better half of the backup PGs in the league.
I'm not gonna go down that line, but
We don't need to do like we don't need to go through best backup point guards.
hey, all I know is that Peyton Pritchard's at the top, so that's all I care about.
Nah, that man who owned New York today is at the top.
Oh, Oh, my fault. I forgot. TZ McConnell. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's at the
yeah,
top.
for sure.
Payne's like top 3, so I'll take that. Miles
Yeah.
McBride, you can put him in there too as well.
But so who are you taking for the conference finals out the West?
Oh yeah, predictions. I am going to take the Minnesota Timberwolves in 6 to head to their first ever finals in franchise history. That's my pick.
Yeah, part of me really, really wants to go with Luca. Part of me really wants to go with Kyrie Irving. But I picked against the Timberwolves in the first round. I picked against them this round. I'm not doing it 3 times in a row. So I got Timberwolves in 6.
Damn, not even the first. Oh yeah, because you picked Suns in 7. That's crazy. Not even excuse me, not even in the first round against the Suns. Hey man, I gave the Suns too much respect, but at least I was like that defense, along with I think their roster in general being better compared to Phoenix, although not having the best player in that series. I thought they pulled through, not to the extent which they did, but I still have Minnesota winning that.
Yeah, I thought one we would get a better version of Bradley Beal. I didn't think he'd be that bad. And then I also didn't think Nurkic would be as horrible as he was, but he was like unplayable.
Yeah, but I mean that was basically the whole Suns rotation except
Yeah.
for KD and Book. Everybody was unplayable. So
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Literally everybody. Even Royce O'Neal. Yeah.
Royce O'Neal was horrible.
Hmm.
He was bad. He was horrible. I this man Danny sent a quote from Michael Malone. It was from a sleeper notey. It was from the press conference they did post game.
Hmm.
Quote from head coach of the Nuggets, Michael Malone: "The season's over. That's what's hard. Fuck being up by 20. Stupid ass questions." End quote.
Well, I mean, I kind of need to know what the question was before you said that. Do we
That
know
is
that by chance?
no, we don't. There's no context.
Um, well, I mean, we've seen stuff like that before, where whether it was like LeBron walking out of a presser, whether it was
Like AD, he threw the mic after saying
yeah,
Jamal Murray hit a shot. So hey, it's understandable for players and coaches to be mad when they lose in this high of stakes. So I don't blame Malone for reacting
nah,
with what he
it's
did.
it's yeah, it's just part of the game. It's part of the game.
It is. They
It's
they,
part of
they gotta give, bro. It's like players and coaches deserve to be mad. I mean, this is their whole
the game.
livelihood. This is the
Especially
game they've been working for their entire life.
yeah, especially like with Malone. Malone's always been a dude who will like keep it a buck with you. Whether it was the All-Star game in Utah, I think it was 2 years ago at this point, where he was like, "That was just the fucking worst All-Star game I've ever seen." Whether it was him saying
He
that,
wasn't lying.
he wasn't lying. Whether it was after the first 2 games, kind of just going to the media and like not taking some shots at Nuggets, but trying to like ignite something within them by saying like, "Oh, the effort's not there. We're not looking the same, and we're just not like looking like a championship team," and trying to spark something within his roster. Um, and so like he's always been a coach who's voiced his opinions, and I don't think he's gonna change that.
Yeah, for sure. But back to conference predictions. Who you got winning that, man?
I got Timberwolves in 6 as well.
Mm,
Timberwolves in 6 as well.
yeah, Minnesota. I think they have the best. Well, although they have the best player advantage with Luca being better than, and obviously overall roster, how both teams are structured, coaching as well, along with Minnesota having the home court advantage too. I just think that would be too much for Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too. I do too. I think the size might be a problem in that series.
Yeah, Maxi Kleba, his loss is so huge for the series, especially when Dallas, if they can go 5 out and possibly put Kleba at the 5, could take Gobert at the game and
Mhm.
just stretch the Minnesota's defense.
Yeah, it was a big loss, and the loss was felt in the Thunder series, and that was a series that they won.
Mm.
And this is a series where I feel like although they do have the top end talent, they're probably the less talented team overall. And I just feel like that presence is going to be even more missed.
Yeah, it's. I think the X factor for Dallas has to be Lively and Gafford going up against the three big monster as well for Minnesota with Reed, Gobert, and Cat. Obviously, for those two bigs on Dallas, can they control the paint? Can they rebound effectively enough? Can they extend possessions longer for them offensively? The Mavs. That would be one of the huge differences for the Mavs if they were able to win the series.
100%. 100%. But do we want to move to the East and talk about that game 7?
Mm-hmm. I mean, one last thing for Dallas, if there was a way that they could pull off the upset against this Minnesota team, it has to be Luka. And with Luka, he's had an up and down postseason. Obviously, he's had the injuries nagging throughout, but with the first round against LA, very inconsistent. Kyrie was the best player for Dallas that series. Second round, although he did clutch up in game 6 and 7, he was still inconsistent there as well. Had the place between him and the refs was very apparent throughout that series too as well. And for this series, I know it's just basic analysis, but Luka has to lock it against his Wolves team because with all the complaints to the refs about foul calls, all the complaints about physicality, Lou Dort, he's a good defender, but with Minnesota, you're gonna have multiple Lou Dorts on that side of the ball that you gotta deal with. Guys like NAW, Jay McDaniels that pride themselves on being defenders in this league, as well as capable defending guards like Mike Conley and Anthony Edwards, who are gonna pester you all night as well.
Yeah. Yeah, if they want any chance to win that series, Luka has to play like Luka. Simple enough.
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie
Sure.
has to play like Kyrie. PJ Washington has to play the way he did against the Thunder. Derek Lively had a good series against the Thunder. He needs to continue that. And they
Hey,
just
so
need
salute to Lively though. I want to say I want to keep showing this even more, bro. Salute to Derek Lively for this playoff run, especially in that game 6. It was very huge for them.
Yeah, 100%. I think what was Lively last year? The 15th overall pick? Or what? No, they didn't make the playoffs. They were 14, I want
I
to say.
think 14th. He was like
Yeah.
14th around there.
Yeah. And if you told the Dallas Mavericks that they were going to draft somebody who looks like he could be the next big to play with Luka in the pick and roll, who is versatile on defense, can switch, can hold it down defensively, can rebound, is going to run the floor like you want him to, they would be ecstatic. And that's exactly what they got with that pick.
Yeah, for sure. I love the Lively pick back then around draft season, and with what he's been doing, the potentials he's shown throughout this entire year has been phenomenal for this Mavs team.
100%. 100%. But yeah, because it really was just Lou Dort defensively for the Thunder, whereas now it's like, oh, you have Jaden McDaniels, well, you'll get switched to Anthony Edwards, and then you'll get switched to Mike Conley. And then if he's hitting his threes, you'll get switched to Alexander Walker. And the list just goes on and on and on for the Minnesota Timberwolves.
For sure. Hey, but hopefully that'll be an exciting series coming out the West. Two interesting teams bonding it out. Hey, it's gonna be a fun one, hopefully. So
yeah, and I'm excited because we obviously get the day off tomorrow from basketball, and then it's like, then it's Eastern Conference first, Western, Eastern, Western, Eastern, like just day by day, one game each, and it's
yeah,
like
every
really
other
just
day
lock in and enjoy each game.
for sure. Hey, I can't wait for it. But moving on to the other game 7 that went down today in the East. Hey man, your team was affected by this as well. So I'm gonna give it off to you for this one.
Yeah,
Kind of a therapy session for you right now. Is what it's gonna be at this moment. So hey, take from here.
yeah. I mean, I'll start where I started throughout the season and throughout the playoffs, which was talking about the injuries because the, every team deals with injuries. Every team gets banged up. But for me personally, I don't remember a time where a team was this banged up injury wise, where you basically have a starting five of Well, Brunson got hurt this game, but Josh Hart was dealing with injuries throughout the series. OG's been out since game 2. Randall and Robinson were out the entire series. Boyan was out the entire series. And even with all that said, I'm still somewhat upset in the performance because yes, there were injuries, and yes, you obviously can excuse some of the mishaps and excuse some of the tired legs and fatigue on it, but we just didn't start a game 7 right. And
No.
whether it was trailing big even before the Brunson injury in the first half, or just coming out with the wrong energy, it's just it. You can blame a lot on the injuries, but started game 7.
Yeah, and for Game 7 at the Garden, I thought the biggest difference maker for this, as well as this entire series, is going to be the effort and energy as well from both teams. And with Indiana, they won the rebound battle as well. They beat New York in that regard, which for the Knicks, that's their bread and butter. With
Mhm,
guys like Hardenstein and Josh Hart, especially, got some of the best rebounders in the entire league. And
mhm.
so for Indiana to control that throughout the game, get crucial rebounds when needed, when it was like obviously with Miles Turner, even with Isaiah Jackson as well, all coming off the bench, other key bigs and wings on Indiana, for them to control that side of the ball and to get extra looks was a huge difference maker.
Yeah, and I think that the rebounding was really where the injury showed kind of most of all, because against Philly, we obviously dominated the backboard against them. First 2 games, we dominated the backboard against Indiana, which helped us jump out to that 2-0 series lead. And then when OG went down, we're kind of looking at our front court. We see we don't have Robinson. We see we don't have Randall. We see we lost our small forward, power forward in OG. We see we don't have Boyan Bogdanovic. And it's really like the only players playable over 6'4" in the front court are Isaiah Hartenstein and Precious Achuya. And I'll say playable for Precious Achuya, because if we're healthy, I don't know if he's getting these minutes.
No, he's not gonna get
Yeah.
he was gonna get the minutes healthy.
And
Yeah.
so I was actually gonna look at the stats, but I think every game after the OG injury, except for game 5, we got out rebounded. And
Hmm.
we obviously went 4-1 in those games without OG. The only one being game 5 where we out rebounded them, where Isaiah Hartenstein set a Knicks record for most offensive rebounds. So I really felt like that was really the turning point in the series. Yes, OG had a massive height difference when he was getting guarded by Josh Hart because we didn't have the, but I felt like all the injuries, and specifically all the injuries being in the front court, really allowed the series to kind of be blown open.
Yeah, and with the injuries and overall fatigue, that showed defensively. Indiana, they were blazing hot this entire game.
Yeah.
Shot 67% from the field, 57%, not 57, 54% from three, excuse me. Literally every single Pacers player that played in this game shot the ball well. And that was largely due to the amount of defensive lapses and breakdowns the Knicks had on the perimeter, lots of open shots, easy looks around the basket. And just to harp on that, it was just an indicator, especially in Game 6 as well, in Indiana, just the Knicks being tired and running on fumes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, tired is like, I don't know necessarily if it was tired as much as just like there. I just don't feel like there was a defensive scheme we could have played, like because in the second half, I actually thought it was really interesting where we came out and the new scheme was to put Hartenstein on Pascal, and guess who was on Miles Turner? Josh Hart.
Mm, mm.
It was Josh Hart, and I actually thought that was our best look. That was our best look defensively, is what I thought, and it just we had the run where we cut it down to 10, and then Brunson obviously left the game, and from there the game kind of dissolved and it went back to like an 18-point lead. But I don't necessarily think it's as much as tired as like the defense could never get set. Like
No.
like the Pacers just play with such a phenomenal pace where I was saying it before, like I was worried that the Knicks crashing their offensive glass and how the Pacers play with their pace, it was going to be a matchup nightmare. It was a matchup nightmare whether we made the basket or not because they were running and gunning every single time.
Yeah, and that's just the greatness of this Pacers offense, and also with the greatness of Halliburton as a playmaker. along with the fact that he was way more aggressive
Mhm.
compared to the first two games at the Garden. That was a huge difference maker as well for this
First 3
Pacers
games at the
team.
Garden.
Hmm.
First, because he wasn't very good in game 5. But yeah, he was very aggressive these last 2 games, and I was actually really happy to see that.
Yeah, very happy. I mean, for the team's best player offensively, although throughout this entire series and the postseason especially, the Pacers offense was still very efficient, very effective. But when it comes down to it, when you're the best player, when people have been labeling you as the next superstar in this league, for Tyrese Halliburton, you gotta empty the clip. You have to throw the defense off guard, and hey, it showed in the later stages of this series, him being aggressive and being able to take his shots when needed to, also with his great playmaking ability, setting guys up for open shots. That was fantastic from him.
Who do you think was their best player this series?
Oh, Siakam.
Okay. I had Siakam too. I thought Siakam was their best player round 1. I thought he was their best player this series as well.
Yeah, I feel with Siakam's game, half court, he was great, getting easy looks, getting to his spots, knocking down shots when needed to. As well, the Pacers' best half court guy, offensive scorer, which that was the reason why they got a guy like Siakam. Them trading all their first round picks to get Siakam to have that number two, potentially even number one, alongside of Halliburton, and to get those tough shots when the Pacers offense is not as quick and when the game slows down as well. When they have to get those half court buckets, he stepped up greatly.
But I also think like they definitely traded for him for his offense, but they also traded for him for that playoff experience and that
Mhm.
championship experience, which I think was a really big display today because anytime it felt like the Knicks were going to rally, anytime it felt like the Knicks were on a run, it felt like a Pascal bucket was coming. And he was aggressive at the right times. He had timely baskets, which I think was really important. And in the first quarter, I felt like he kind of set the tempo for them and he got off to a hot start.
Yeah, and speaking on the playoff experience for Indiana, also with that, their run to the in-season tournament final, that was huge for them in these situations
Yeah.
because in those crunch time moments, playing serious basketball, especially when you have teams that they're going up against in that tournament, like the Boston Celtics, that huge win at home they got on TNT, I was mad when it happened, but at the same time, I was super happy for them because that was a big stepping stone in their development. And throughout these playoffs, especially in this series against the Knicks, going down to 2-0 and having to win both games at home in Indiana, they didn't falter. Although there was a little bit of luck in there with Neesmith hitting that game winner in
Nemhard.
game three.
Nemhard.
Not Neesmith. Neesmith had a great game 7 as well. I want to talk about that for a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit.
he didn't miss a shot
But
today.
I want to bring that up. He didn't miss a shot. He went 8 for 8, 2 for
Yeah.
2 from 3, had 19 points.
To be
Phenomenal
fair, not a
series.
lot of players missed shots on that team today.
No,
They
they
they,
didn't
they
at all.
literally broke a playoff record for highest field goal percentage in a game 7.
Yeah,
But
but thank you for correcting me, Matt. Nemhard was the guy I wanted to mention for that.
but and that's the most heartbreaking thing is like the Knicks go up 2-0 in this series, and yes, we do lose OG, which I mean that's probably like we were talking about. You could damn near put OG in MVP conversations because we're 25-6 with him, and we're below 500 without him.
Yeah,
Which kind of
massive
just
difference maker for them. Massive difference maker for them.
no, yeah, which just speaks
And
to his impact on the court. But
yeah,
when you go on the road after 2-0, your whole mentality is just we just got to get one. We just got to get one on the road and take care of business in game 5. And obviously the Knicks got blown out in game 4. Game 4 was basically a no-show for everybody on the roster. Like that was the biggest blowout of the series, even though there were multiple blowouts in the series. But like
yeah,
game three, if Nimhard doesn't hit that shot, like we go up 3-1, you get that road win. Like the conversations are extremely different. And that's what's so heartbreaking to me as a Knicks fan.
yeah. But just small plays like that, the pendulum swing, it makes a difference.
Yeah, and it shows how tight the margins are in the playoffs.
For sure. For sure, man. But to continue on the Knicks, hey, what's the future like for this team moving forward?
Got to go into the luxury tax. I was talking about it with the Nuggets, but obviously you have OG Anunoby. He's a free agent. Pay that man whatever he
Need to
wants.
get him. Need to get
Yeah,
him. You
pay
can write
that
a
man
blank
whatever he
check.
wants.
You can write a blank check for OG. I hope they got some like new contract extension for OG because with him playing in that game 7 was crazy because he clearly did not look like he was ready for that game 7. I don't
No,
know how many doses of horse tranquilizer and painkillers they gave that man in this game today, but it wasn't enough because he clearly
yeah.
wasn't fit to play.
I don't know. I don't know if it was him wanting to play or the trainers telling him to play, but like, yeah, he hit the three to start the game, and he just did not look right after. He could barely move.
No.
Um, but bring back OG at any price. And this is the one that really, really scares me. But we have to bring back Isaiah Hartenstein.
Hey, he's gonna be asking for a bag this year. This
Boardman
offseason.
gets paid. Boardman gets paid, and that is the definition of Boardman.
Hey, some team might be desperate. Teams that need a high caliber big, maybe give him starting big money in this league.
I mean, he could get starting big money for us. I don't give a fuck. He's gonna be our starting big, whether Mitchell Robinson is healthy or not.
But y'all also gave Robinson an extension recently.
But Robinson's making like 14 a year. That's like six-man money.
Okay. So how much would you give Hartenstein?
I give Hartenstein the same contract we gave Robinson. I'd give him like
I don't
14
know.
over 4.
Hey, I don't know in the modern NBA paying two bigs that type of money, man.
14 mil a year?
I don't know.
You're paying Al Horford like the same for a year, aren't you?
No,
What's Horford's contract? He's in the is he in the 20s?
he's not in the 20s.
Oh.
I know for a fact he's not in the
No,
20s.
no, I definitely
It's
think I definitely think that like center is the weakest position. If we're going like starting lineup, because like starting lineup, I would argue you got the best point guard in the East, probably a dude competing for the top 5 talks. I think he definitely like solidified himself there after the playoffs, even if he did have a stinker the last 2 games. Dante DiVincenzo, who was lights out, arguably maybe the best player in the game today, even though like his team didn't show up. OG, obviously, you got at small forward. Randall was playing his best basketball of the year.
Mhm.
Like the thing to me, I would really like a floor spacing big because going up against Miles Turner, it really exploited how valuable it is to have in this league.
Yeah, but early, I'm gonna say the same thing. Like, although it would be great to keep both Hartenstein and Robinson for the future, just overall for team building, paying bigs that much money. It's for the modern NBA. That's not the way to go. It's really not.
No, it's not, but it's like I don't know. I'm also a fan of like if you can't get anything better, then at least retain what you have.
Yeah.
And like I don't think there's really a center in the market. I don't think Joel Embiid's gonna get traded this offseason, even though I do think
No,
they should build around
I don't
Tyrese
think.
Maxey. But I mean I've said that before, but like I don't think Joel Embiid's available this offseason. I don't think there's an elite big. Like a lot of people were saying Cat before the season. Cat's not available anymore.
Yeah, that man's staying.
Yeah,
We've
then
been
like
harping on that for the past 2 years now, but
yeah.
he's staying in Minnesota for sure.
We know one big man is available, and that's Jared Allen. But like I'd rather keep Hardenstein than have Jared Allen.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough situation, but at the minimum, I would like to bring Hardenstein back because whether we have Hardenstein and Robinson or just one of them, I would preferably choose to have Robinson if I could only, or I would preferably choose to have Hartenstein if I could only have one.
Let's see. I'm looking at this upcoming bigs class for this offseason. You got Valanciunas. He can space the floor, but really he's not a playoff rotational
He's
guy
not
at
doing
all.
shit in the tip system either.
No. And then moving on the list, Rashawn Holmes.
Nah,
No. James Wiseman. No. Nicholas Claxton. He's gonna get a big bag
he's
anyway,
going back
and
to
he's not
Brooklyn.
even gonna fit within the roster. Yeah, that might be the case. Hardenstein, obviously, you got Mo Wagner on a team option. Daniel Tice, Mason Plumlee, Kevin Love, Andre Drummond, McGee, Tristan Thompson, blah 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 blah.
So
So
he's the second best center in the class behind Nicholas Claxton.
yes,
So I would bring him back. Worst case, you can put him in a trade package, but preferably put Robinson in the trade package.
Hmm.
I just think
Although
I
his
just think
value would be Although Robinson's value would be diminished because of his recurrent injury history. So
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, for me, I just think Hardenstein, although he doesn't have the same defensive ability as Mitchell Robinson, he brings way more on the offensive end, including some sneaky good playmaking and
oh,
just the rebounding.
hey man, those handoffs, the little touch passes
The
within
give
the
and
pick and
goes
roll
too.
game between, yeah, between him and Brunson, even with him, Hart and Devo with those actions. Hey, that's a huge difference, man.
Mhm. And that was a really big thing was I remember, like, even in the early season before we traded for OG, the Knicks offense was great. The defense wasn't good. Like, the defense was in the 20s. But, like, it was really untypical because a Tibbs defense or a Tibbs team had, like, 20th ranked defense and a top 10 ranked offense before the OG trade. And, like, yes, the defense wasn't great because of Hartenstein, but the offense definitely was a lot better because of Hartenstein. And today he finally missed a push shot. I was saying it like, when is Hartenstein gonna miss a push shot? Because he didn't miss one against the Sixers. He didn't miss one
Uh,
for the first 6 games of this series. And then he missed a couple today, and I was like, oh yeah, it's over. If he's not hitting those, it might be over.
yeah, I mean, it's just like Gobert with his midi at the end of the shot clock. Hey, it's just those certain moments where hey, it's not gonna be your day, or it is gonna be your day for which other team. So
Yeah, yeah. But for the Knicks, I gotta give a round of applause. I was standing up. I was giving a standing ovation when my guys were getting checked out. Dante, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Isaiah Hartenstein, even Achua. Achua gave us good minutes in the playoffs, like much needed minutes in the playoffs as well. Just guys who you wouldn't have thought before the season to step up in the biggest moments, showcase their talent, showcase their ability, and stepped up. Obviously, we got a big first round win against the Sixers. Heartbreaking loss in Game 7, but it was a fun season to be a Knicks fan.
for sure. And as a bystander, although y'all did blow a 2-0 lead
Misleading,
with home court
misleading,
advantage
misleading.
against the lower seeded team. Hey, what's facts is facts. I'm gonna stay
Five injuries, no front court players. What's facts is facts, but continue.
I'm just saying facts. As a neutral watching you guys play throughout the year, even with all of your injuries, was a pleasure to watch. It's the most this season's Knicks was the most exciting and probably best team to watch in our lifetime. And although the 2013 Knicks team with Melo, JR, my boy Steve Novak, my favorite Knick of all time, one of my favorite players of all time in the NBA, I
Mhm.
think this Knicks team is clearly the best from since the 2000 team that were in the Eastern Conference Finals last time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I said that where before. I remember before the first round started, you were like, if the Knicks lose, is this season a failure? And I was kind of telling you like, no, this is like my favorite Knicks team I've watched in my lifetime, and that was including the 2012 team with the guys you mentioned, obviously Melo, Novak, Depoy, Tyson Chandler, Mike D'Antoni, who we
Oh
know I
yeah.
like coaching the roster. Like that was a fun time to be a fan. But like this roster, even Mike Breen said it like after the game, like where Josh Hart was getting the standing ovation, and he was like, he has the fan base and like the motion within the fan base that you would think he's been playing with the organization for 10 years. But
Mhm.
it's just like we've just grown such an attachment to these guys because they almost embody what Knicks basketball is.
And okay, I want to say one more thing, and I'm not gonna. This isn't crapping on the Knicks fan base or you especially, but the broadcast that went down today on ESPN was so incredibly biased, man. It was super biased from the pregame, from throughout the game, and with towards the end of the game with Mike Breen basically giving off like a 5 minute eulogy for this next team and what happened during this season, which that was a great eulogy, fantastic from Mike Breen as usual. But at the same time, like for the worldwide leader of sports, why not give the other team more love, man? They were fighting too.
Yeah. Well, they were giving them love for the other like 40 minutes of the game.
No, it wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. Bro, what happened on ESPN today was basically like a local broadcast on MSG in New York. especially pregame. I saw Stephen A. He was chilling. He was cool with. He was trying to hype up the crowd with the Spike Lee. They gave him the
Yeah, I
mic
saw
too.
that.
I'm like, bro, yo, it's like, what am I watching? I'm watching MSG basically. And that is technically kind of ironic because Mike Green, he commentates on MSG in Dorisburg. He used to work at MSG too as well. So, I mean, it was still a fun series to watch, but I think the media coverage between the Knicks and Pacers was really biased for one
No,
team.
yeah, I was telling Sadegi, after Game 6, I was telling him like I could definitely hear some Mike Breen bias in the commentating. Like, I
Yeah,
honestly I don't think it's like insanely noticeable. Like, I feel like if you're not a Knicks, like if you don't know he's commentating the Knicks, I feel like you might just think it like, oh, he's being humble, he's giving them a eulogy because they had a great season. Like, I don't think you would read too much into it, but like I be hearing him say stuff and like the way he hypes up like certain players. I'm just like, yeah, you're definitely like a Knicks commentator. Like I could
I mean,
definitely hear it
yeah,
coming out.
yeah, I mean, and I love Mike Breen. That's my dude. I'll always forever love Mike Breen. But yeah, it kind of showed throughout the series whenever he commentated a game. But hey, for the amount of years he's been on ESPN and covering these games, especially for the Knicks,
Mhm.
he does a really good job at hiding his bias. So I'll give him
Well,
that credit.
I mean, he's been for a good portion, at least like the last decade. He hasn't had to worry about the Knicks playing during this time of the year.
No,
So we'll
not
see
at
if the bias continues to creep in. But
all.
I don't know if you have anything else to add about the Knicks. I got one more thing to add. It's kind of something I've been saying, but
Go ahead.
we got to give this man Tibbs a round of applause. I know a lot of people want to say, "Oh, he caused the injuries. Oh, he plays his players too many minutes." I think both of those are complete shit. I think both of those are complete shit. You look at the injuries. Mitchell Robinson, he had an ankle injury basically the entire year. Came back, got hurt. Whether it was Joel or not, he got hurt playing the game. Not from Tibbs. Julius Randle, freak accident with Jaime Jaquez. Injury doesn't seem that bad when it first happens. Ends up missing the entire season, right? OG Anunoby. That's like the most controversial one. I still don't even like it because it's just like OG made a Euro step and ended up pulling his hamstring. Like not
Mhm.
much Tibbs could do there. Bojan Bogdanovic diving for a loose ball ends up breaking his wrist. Like it was all part of the game. It's not like a reputation thing. I feel like a lot of people are harping on Tibbs because of his reputation with playing players big minutes and obviously the Derrick Rose injury. I don't think it's correlation in this case. I just think it was basketball injuries that occurred. And as for the
No,
minutes, as for the minutes, I think that yeah, you can say he's playing the guys a lot of minutes, but like how many teams can afford to lose 5 guys in their rotation and still have like 4 rotation players to play? Not a lot. Of course, the rotation is going to be slimmed down. Of course, he's going to have to cut people out, and of course, minutes are going to increase. That's basketball.
okay. My fault for trying to cut you
No, you're
off.
good. You're good.
It'll spill, but yeah, I do agree with you. I think the narrative that Tibbs played his players way too many minutes throughout the entire year is a cop out and also lazy analysis because one, like you said, the injuries that happened to the Knicks key players were freak accidents, really, and
Mhm.
two, I mean, there was no choice. His hand was tied behind his back. You
Exactly.
really, you really think that he would want this man Josh Hart to consistently play full games, the entire 48 minutes, game after game?
You know what's crazy? Josh Hart wasn't even in our starting lineup before the injuries. He was our sixth man,
No,
and he was
exactly.
and he was getting 48 minutes a game
Yeah, why was Josh Hart playing 48 minutes a game?
because of all the
Because of
injuries.
injuries,
Yeah,
exactly.
but
Bro, but I mean,
go ahead, go
it's
ahead.
just that's the main thing with Tibbs and the argument that people are going to continue to harp on him as long as he coaches in this league for the next coming years is him playing his guys too much and there's a consistent pattern of his key guys getting injured, especially down the stretch. But this year it was a freak accident, and despite all the injuries, we're gonna give him a round of applause. Me and Matt, just the great job he did within this unit,
Well,
having to rally the troops consistently throughout.
yeah, and he's up for an extension this offseason, and I want him to get that extension. You take a look at this Knicks roster. Jalen basketball of his career. Dante DiVincenzo's playing the best basketball of his career. Josh Hart's playing the best basketball of his career. Hartenstein is playing the best basketball of his career. McBride is. All these guys are playing the best basketball of their career, and they're excelling because they're in the right system with the right guy coaching them.
For sure. Hey, McBride took a leap, especially. DiVincenzo, hey, I waved the white flag. Bro, played his ass off this postseason for sure. Hey,
He broke.
You won the war, man. You won the war.
Hey, well, that one's a battle. That one's just battle. That's a small battle.
It was a small battle, but it was still a very competitive battle. It went 7 games for sure.
But like we're talking about the Pacers and how they broke a Game 7 record and shooting the best field goal percentage. Dante broke a record and making the most 3-pointers in Game 7 history. And if you told me before the game that Dante was going to finish with 40 points and break the 3-point record, I definitely would have picked the Knicks to win, which is the most difficult part.
For sure.
But it is what it is.
Salute to Dibo for him balling out. Salute to Josh Hart. Give that man icy hot. Give everybody on this Knicks team an icy hot. They deserve it for this season, man.
Yeah. Hey, it's like I said in the group chat. We're not going to Cancun. We're going to like rehab.
For sure. And hopefully they all can rest up. And I'm praying next season with everybody healthy, from our team included. We can match up in the playoffs. I don't know, but I'm ready.
I mean, it doesn't matter now, and I think we're wrapping up with the Knicks probably Knicks Pacers debate or talk. But if the Knicks won this game, I was gonna say my prediction was gonna be the Celtics to win the series. I was gonna take Celtics in 6. But I honestly think if the Knicks were healthy, they could have won that series. I think they had a really legit chance to win the series if we were healthy. Which, I can keep saying if we were healthy for the Knicks, because obviously we weren't. But, I hope we're back next year, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I think y'all will be next back. But hypothetically, if we're talking about Celtics and Knicks, if both teams are healthy, I would still easily take the Celtics in 5 games. It would be a very competitive 5 games, but hey, it's still 5 games.
Nah.
For sure.
That's insane. Y'all were barely beating the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell in 5.
I want to say
beating the healthy Knicks in 5.
Define the barely beating. We were in control.
Game 4 and Game 5 were pretty close.
Don't know, they were not close.
Game 4? Game 4
was
close.
Not close.
Game 4 was close.
That was
Game 4 was close the entire game, basically.
Bro, you knew the Celtics were gonna win that game the entire time.
You knew they were gonna win, but it doesn't mean that they look good.
I'm not gonna say we played our best ball, because obviously we didn't in that game, especially. But it was not as close as you want to make it out to be. So, yeah.
But who you got for Celtics Pacers?
Hey, I wanted to say shout out Evan Mobley. He balled out the whole series. Donovan Mitchell, he's gonna stay back with Cleveland for next year. I don't think Garland and Jared Allen are gonna be on that team next year. But hey, it was a great year for them.
I saw that they're finally looking to trade Jared Allen. The profit is confirmed. Mobley at the 5.
Yeah, you won that war as well. So hopefully Mobley can get more time at the 5 position moving forward. So
yeah, he looked good at the 5. He really did.
Yeah, but Poppy Al came clutch at the end. So
he needs to stay aggressive. He needs to stay aggressive because they're a different team when he's looking for a shot versus when he's not.
For sure.
But
it was a little bit annoying, but yeah, salute to Mobley.
But if Mobley's available, he can be the Knicks big man. He can even stretch the floor a little bit now.
Yeah.
So I'll take him, but he's definitely not available.
Yeah, that's a pipe dream. But moving on to our prediction for the Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics, Pacers, probably the least interesting conference finals in recent memory, but hey, we still got it. So,
yeah, the 2 teams that have played the most injured teams. Obviously, Pacers played the Bucks, who didn't have Giannis, didn't have Dame for a good part of the stretch. We went over the Knicks injuries. Celtics, although I think Celtics would have got here regardless, they still had an easier path set for them with the Jimmy and Donovan Mitchell injuries. But these are 2 healthy teams now. And I just think that there's a complete talent misadvantage. I think the Celtics will lose one game out of stupidity, like they typically do, and then I think that the Pacers might get a game at home because they are a different team. In the Pfizer Forum, is that where they play? No, they play at the
No,
Fieldhouse.
that's the Buck Stadium.
Yeah, yeah,
Gainbridge Fieldhouse,
yeah, Fieldhouse,
formerly
Fieldhouse.
Bankers Life Fieldhouse for the Pacers. That's their stadium. That's the name of the stadium.
Um, but yeah, I think they'll take a game at home. So I got Celtics in 6.
I got Celtics in 5.
I
They're
got
not getting 2 games off us. Although, hey, when between the Knicks and the Pacers, I obviously want the Knicks with them
mhm.
being more banged up and having limited scoring options to compare with the Celtics. Obviously, Indiana is going to be a fight with how they push the pace, especially without Porzingis to start the series off. Miles Turner could have a big series as well to kick it off against us. But all in all, I think, like you said, Matt, the talent discrepancy, especially between the very top, at the very top between the top three players between both teams, it's a huge gap. So the Celtics should easily win this in a short series.
Being a Celtics fan and trying to pick between Knicks and Pacers is disgusting.
No,
That's
but
like
like,
that's like
no,
picking.
like
That's like picking. Do you want to play fifth graders or do you want to play seventh graders?
no, but I'm saying though, I could care less if we could face y'all or the Pacers, but from a matchup standpoint, New York would be much easier. That's analysis.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't gonna come in here with any bias if the Knicks won and say we were gonna win the series. I was gonna like give us a little bit of hype, but I don't think we would have won the series.
No,
But I actually would have had the Celtics in 5 against the Knicks. I think Pacers might be able to push out a one more. I think that the biggest thing in this series is Tyrese keeping his aggression because they're a different team when Tyrese is aggressive. He opens up a lot of stuff when he's taking his shots, and especially if he's knocking it down.
yeah, and I mentioned this before, but Miles Turner, along with the other bigs like OB as well, they have to play a big part in the series. If the Pacers were able to have a chance, being aggressive inside on
Mhm,
both ends, winning the rebound battle, especially with us having to go without Al, not Al Horford, Porzingis to start the series off, and even
mhm.
with Al Horford, he can be stretched out as well too, like against the series he played against the Cavs.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be an interesting series. They do match up kind of well. They still are relatively undersized compared to you guys, but like Neesmith and Tatum will be a good matchup. I think Neesmith is. I honestly was telling Abdul this today. I think he's one of the most underrated 3-and-D wings in the league.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, he's been stepping up big in these playoffs, man. He's been whoa! I am fumbling. He's been fantastic this postseason. Hopefully, that's not going to happen against us. Although it's a little bit of a revenge factor for Neesmith too.
Oh yeah,
But hey, man, salute to him.
but like series one against the Bucks, like Dame went off in game one, and then after that they put Neesmith on him, and Neesmith kind of held his own on Dame after that. And obviously, the first 2 games this series, Brunson had his way with Nimhard defending him. They make the adjustment, they put Neesmith on him, and the series really did change after that. Brunson still did have like a 40 or something point game on Neesmith, but in that game 5. But outside of that, it was a lot harder for Brunson, and it was a lot harder to get him going.
Mhm.
And obviously those are 2 small guards against Neesmith, but I think good defense translates no matter what. And so I think the Tatum matchup will be interesting. I just like they just don't have enough. I feel like I think we're saying like, oh, like the Knicks if they're healthy. Like I think the Knicks, if they're not healthy and they just have OG win the series. And you're telling me that this team is gonna like try to compete against the Celtics like behemoth? Like I don't see it happening.
No, great season for the Pacers. Fantastic. They made the big move. Now they've made the deep playoff run. So huge success on their behalf, with still a bright future as well. But it is in the Eastern Conference Finals, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not for my team, obviously, but unfortunately for them. So, man,
Don't worry, yours ends around later. But
it's not happening.
Timberwolves Celtics finals is very intriguing. Like that's gonna do some numbers, I think.
Yeah, but I think we match up well against a team like Minnesota than the Denver Nuggets. even with the boogeyman, the boogie team, I might add, in Denver, which I didn't believe it throughout the entire year anyway. But that's what everybody was saying. Denver, they're unbeatable, they're unstoppable. No, there were clear holes within that unit. They were not the Golden State Warriors with Curry, KD, Clay, and Draymond. So that narrative's
No,
over.
they weren't, but I mean they were like 24 minutes away from being in the same spot. Because I would have picked. I think whoever won that series is going to the finals. I don't think
Oh,
Mavericks would have beat
easily.
either team. Yeah.
You know, but when you blow a 20-point lead in an elimination game, also in the first round, being trailing behind most of the series against a playing team, there are clear weaknesses within that roster. So
No, 100%.
yeah,
100%.
not that unbeatable. So
No, they're not. They're not.
although having to play
But
against Jokic in a 7-game series would have put stress on my life, and
but
having to see Porzingis and Horford trying to guard Jokic in a 7-game series would be completely horrible as a fan to watch.
hey,
So.
Jaylen Brown wanted the Jokic matchup. I don't know why you're mentioning those two guys. But man, I'm just happy.
Does Missoula want did Missoula want Jalen Brown to get the Jokic matchup? No. So
No, rightfully so. Um, but man, I'm happy. I'm happy. Obviously, my Knicks only have 2 championships, and Denver fans do a lot of talking for a team that only has 1 championship. You know, and so for them to not even catch up to us, despite the fact that they've had 50 years, it's kind of embarrassing. So I'll take that little win over them.
ABA days too, going back to that.
I wouldn't be talking. Most of your championships came when the league had less teams than the WNBA.
Bro, the last time you won a chip, Vietnam was going on. Nixon was the president.
You got 1 ring since '87.
Bro, it's still more recent than y'all. We won in 08. Y'all won in like what, 74?
73. But put some respect on us. We are the Knicks. We are the New York Knicks.
Bro, they were calling people jive turkeys back in the day when y'all won it.
By the way, for everybody out there, Patrick Ewing is not our best player of all time. Stop it. He's not. He's not.
Who is it then?
Who is it, Dibo? Tell me who it is. This should be a layup too.
The consensus is Patrick Ewing.
No, it's
not. I'm gonna say Willis Reed.
It's neither. It's Walt Frazier.
I was in that.
It's definitely Walt Frazier. I think it's definitely Walt Frazier. Best point guard in Knicks history easily. Patrick Ewing didn't win us a ring. Walt Frazier won us 2. Do I need to say more? Was the best player on the championship teams?
It was Willis Reed. Not Walt Frazier. It was Willis Reed.
I think it was Willis
Reed. No, it wasn't.
I personally have Willis Reed as my 3rd best. I think Ewing above him. I would definitely have Walt Frazier 1 though.
Hey, okay. Since we're on the topic of Knicks all-time players,
yes,
Brunson
top 5.
Okay, so we passed Melo when it comes to
all-time. Melo's probably. I mean, Melo's probably 4. If I'm thinking about it, Melo's probably 4.
I think he passed Melo. I think he honestly passed Melo.
I mean, I don't hate that. The thing that sucks, is if he does get that conference finals, he definitely passes Melo. And if the injuries aren't there, he's definitely passes Melo. But with what's on the table, it's 2nd round exit.
For sure.
But I mean, I don't think Melo ever. I mean, Melo did have some MVP type years in New York. He had a year where he finished 2nd, but the year he finished 2nd, LeBron basically was the unanimous MVP outside of 1 vote. So was it really close to MVP?
No, excuse me.
I mean, 2nd's closer than Brunson's ever made it.
No.
But
hey, when the All NBA teams come out, which I'm surprised they haven't come out already. I hope. Hey, Brunson had a fantastic year, but he should not be in there over Tatum. I'm sorry.
No, he's gonna be 2nd team. He'll be 2nd team. But if we're talking about old Knicks, one of my favorite Knicks, that I didn't really watch a lot of as a kid, but I try to watch his highlights now. Allen Houston. Allen Houston has some of the best tape. His game is beautiful.
Bro, his bag was so pure. It's
Oh yeah,
crazy bag.
yeah.
I love his bag, man.
My uncle is a Knicks fan, and he thinks that if he never got hurt, he would have like been in a Hall of Fame debate. I don't know about that, but like Allen Houston was special.
I think Allen Houston was like the Chris Middleton of his time, if you're looking back at it,
Mm, mm.
on a lesser scale, to
Just
be honest.
maybe a better 3-point shooter for the time, if we
Yeah,
translate the times.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But he
Um,
was a dog anyway.
but yeah,
Oof.
yeah, Brunson's definitely high on the list. I have no doubt that he'll pass Melo like consensus wise.
Mhm.
Because he's just getting started. This was only year two in New York, and
Yeah.
fingers crossed. I'm pretty confident that we're gonna bring OG back, but now I will knock on wood because like I don't want to jinx us from keeping our most valuable player away. Um,
Mhm.
but but it it looks like barring anything, we'll be like at minimum the third best team in the East, depending on what Milwaukee does.
I don't even know about Milwaukee moving forward, to
Yeah.
be honest. Doc
Well,
Rivers, the head coach another year, aging roster, no athleticism. It's huge question marks there.
by the way, can we talk about that head scratching move of extending Doc Rivers to a 3-year extension? Where like, look, I didn't think Adrian Griffin was the right guy, but he was the 2 seed, and you guys were winning a lot with him. Whereas with Doc, you went below 500, and yet
Mhm.
you still signed him to a 3-year extension. It's just head scratching to me.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I don't know what the Bucks are doing, man, but we'll see next year. But obviously, I'm focused on bigger things at this point.
As you should be, as you should be. But
Yeah.
we got a day off tomorrow. No basketball. What do you got planned?
Posting reels
Yeah,
from this video. To be honest, pretty much getting
fair.
all the editing set. Also, next week as well, grad season is upon us. So my younger sister's getting her graduation set on like Thursday, so we have to go
Is
there, get
it?
the whole thing set up. Yeah,
I'm not gonna say the place, but is it the same place that we had our graduation at? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, my mom. So I don't know if you know this. My mom like does like mediation for courts, but she also does like translation because she can speak Russian.
Mhm.
But so she's doing translation for graduations. She's like doing one at Red Rocks, which we didn't have our graduation at Red Rocks. That would have been a pretty cool
No,
venue.
that was
Uh,
sick, but the
yeah.
traveling would have been pretty bad.
How far? It's like an hour drive from us, huh? Or close
Yeah,
to it.
yeah.
And then she has another one in Parker. I can't remember where. Oh, Echo Park. Echo Park. Um, but yeah, we didn't have ours there. Which Echo Park, that's like a Parker school for sure. I don't know what school, but
Hmm.
um, but
Oof,
I feel
and
bad for her because sitting through our graduation was like boring for me,
that
and
was like
that's
4 hours.
and we're part of it. But it was like a waste of 3 hours. I felt like
It was a waste. I'm not gonna lie.
it was.
I was like,
Hey,
hey man, give me my diploma, and I'm like out of here, bro. I'm done.
you know,
Especially,
but I will say I'm gonna be excited for the college ceremony. Like I feel like college actually has more meaning to it than high school, like graduation.
yeah, because like you actually did something that you wanted to do,
Yeah.
that you want to do for the later part of your life, compared to
Mhm.
high school, where it's just like, man, I'm just here, I'm just here, like
Basically,
I
it
did
was
what I
like
was
you
supposed to
showed
do.
up every day, you went to your classes, and you did with that. But I
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
was basically a participation award, if we're
Yeah.
being honest here.
Well, it was a participation award, and it was like a daycare for our parents to actually go to work and not have to worry about us. In a sense.
Exactly.
In a sense.
And people still couldn't do it. People
No.
still couldn't do it, bro. There's people from our class that we graduated with that didn't walk on graduation. They either had
Yeah.
to A, do like special summer classes and get their diploma later, or B, not even get it at all. So
Yeah, it's a damn shame.
it is a damn shame, bro. It's bro. Hey, to all of our younger viewers watching this that are like in high school, earlier stages, or going into high school, it's not that hard.
No,
It's
it's
not that hard, especially if you don't have a job or any after school activities to do. Like if you, especially if you're taking regular classes as well. If you're in like regular classes, not having a job or any after school classes, It shouldn't be that hard to have at minimum a 2.7 GPA,
Yeah.
2.6, 2.7 GPA. It's not that
Especially
hard.
the key is just this. You don't even gotta do your best work. You just gotta turn everything in, is what I noticed. Like, if you turn everything in, like what's gonna hurt you is the missing assignments when it's like a 0 out of 10, 0 out of 20. If you turn everything in, you're at least gonna get like a C at worst, I feel like. And
And
and that's all you need to
also,
move on.
right, and also have a good relationship with your teachers as well. You don't
Oh
even
yeah.
have to go in like after school just to talk to your teachers about homework and stuff like that. Although that is a good
But
like
yeah.
extra thing you can do to get them on your good side. Like just show that you care and be respectful in the classroom when you actually have to learn.
Yeah. But I will say this for a lot of the people in high school who are like thinking about college, like me and Debo have talked about this frequently. Like we like college more than high school. We actually find it easier than high school because in high school you'll have like a ton of bullshit assignments throughout the week and you'll have homework every night that like, oh, like why do I need to read this textbook? Like half the notes aren't even on the test. In college, it's like you don't have that much homework, and what you do have is like actually going to be on the test, and this is actually valuable to learn. And so
Yeah.
like
Mm.
that balance is a lot easier to achieve in college, I feel like.
And also, even after graduation, just the amount of freedom you have, do whatever you want without that extra judgment from other people, and
Mhm.
especially with your peers in your high school. That's a huge difference maker. That's a huge lift off your shoulders because you can do whatever you want without having anybody judge you for it.
Yeah,
And
100%. Because like us,
just
for example, like we went from going to school 5 days a week to now you either only go to school 2 days a week. You're either Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, where we are.
yeah, and like
And
having people around us that we don't really like, to be honest. Although
yeah,
I did have a good relationship, I think Matt did too for sure, as well
yeah.
during high school. But just in general, just hanging out with people that you don't really mess with.
No, yeah, yeah. And then once it is college, it's like, yeah, this dude who's always telling you to go to parties isn't there. This dude who always wants you to go out isn't there. And it's like grind season. It's like, oh, like, yeah, I only got school 2 days a week. So, one day I'm gonna get all my homework done. I'm gonna go to the gym every day in the morning so I can get my homework done. I'm gonna grind so I can do lunchroom debates reels and make the clips after that. And then I'm gonna work a couple hours to make some money. Like that's what it is. And it's like finding your hustle. Whereas when you're in high school, it's just like, oh yeah, I got basically it's a 9 to 4. It's not a 9 to 5, but it's like an 8 to 3, and then you got homework after, and it's
Yeah,
just like you're kind of trapped in high school, but like college, you got a lot more freedom.
yeah. Just again, like with what Matt said, just the ability to lock in. I mean, I don't know about Matt, but having a consistent gym schedule, going to the gym every single day, I didn't do that in high school. Creating a podcast weekly, recording episodes and creating extra clips. We didn't like go with that fully in high school as well. And also with other extracurricular stuff, Matt starting his own real estate account as well, making reels on that platform. Me doing like a soccer page where I create my own content by myself weekly as well. We didn't do that type of stuff in high school. So just the ability to have more freedom, the ability to lock in, and not have that extra opinion of people like the naysayers, the doubters out there critiquing your every move. That's a huge difference.
By the way, for those like naysayer critiquers, not necessarily in the same category, but I promise you, who's popular at your high school is not gonna matter. Like nobody like. Do you know what the most popular kid from our high school is doing? I don't even know who the most popular kid at high school was.
No, bro, we didn't have that like popular people at our school. It
Yeah.
was just cliques. It was
It's
just people
just
doing their own thing.
it's niche. It's just whatever your niche was. You hung out with whoever you hung out with, and
Yeah,
like that's honestly probably the most important thing you can get from high school. Just surround yourself with the best people possible. That's what I
absolutely.
think. That's what I think.
hmm hmm Hey,
Because
the
your
best
connections will
people,
set you.
hmm
Go
the
ahead. Go ahead.
best people and the most hardworking people too, that are going to push you one and two, calling out for whatever BS you're doing or trying to do.
Yeah. Hell.
Hey, because within our friend group, I get on Matt consistently. Like I call my on his BS. He call me on my BS, and we do that for all of our other friends too, and within our group.
Yeah. Yeah. I do got a lot of BS that I bring into the group chat. I can't lie. But it's some's for troll, some's for BS. But you gotta have people that keep you in check.
For sure.
Yeah, that's the
Hey
key.
man, but that was a little short lesson within this episode, giving y'all kiddos the advice. Hey, happy late Mother's Day to all the good mothers out there, loving mothers out there. Happy
Yes.
grad season to anybody graduating right now, whether it's past or upcoming for y'all as well this month and beyond. Hey, a little bit of positivity for all the end of this episode for sure.
Yeah, good way to end the episode. I like how you were giving some mothers some happy Mother's Day love because that's what they deserve. We always love our mothers. Shout out to anybody graduating. Keep on the hustle. If you're getting close to graduation, keep pushing until you get there. And then for lunchroom debates, go check us out on Instagram. Go check us out on YouTube, on TikTok, on Spotify. Go like, go subscribe, and we'll keep getting you the daily content. And get us
Sure, absolutely.
to what is it, 850? We're teetering around like
Yes,
840
yes.
right now, I think.
Yeah, we are at 8:38 right now. Hopefully
Hey,
that will change in
but
the
shout
next
out y'all on
1 minute.
YouTube. Shout out y'all on YouTube. Y'all love that Kyrie Irving take. I had a feeling you would.
Bro, it's come
I
on
got it.
now.
Oh, so we're at 838 right now.
7. Yeah, it's near 8K for the real.
Yeah, lovely. We're at 838 right now. Y'all better get us to 850 by then, because I don't think we're going in person this week since we're doing this. Yeah.
Nah, especially with again grad season, that stuff getting there.
So
So
so we'll probably be in the studio next Tuesday. So I got a little bit over a week. Let's make it happen.
mhm.
Let's make it happen.
Possible, very possible. Hey, but beyond, excuse me, but on behalf of myself, us two, Debo and Matt, if y'all still here watching this, thank y'all. Thank y'all for the love and support. And we're gonna keep grinding out here for y'all moving forward. So
100%. 100%. And we out.
peace.